Welcome. I'm Bryan Harrison, I'm the publisher of Mountain House Matters, and we come to you today from the Mountain House Welcome Center, where we welcome Dave Sargent and Frawn who are keenly involved in the development of our soon-to-happen Mountain House Town Center. I'd like to welcome you both here.
Thank you. Thank you, Bryan.
Dave is with Mountain House Developers, formerly known as Shea Mountain House LLC, and Frawn is with LDC, which is the advisory firm that held the community workshop meetings last year and earlier this year. Well, last year.
Last year.
End of 2013 and into 2014.
Yep.
So we have some very exciting times happening in Mountain House, and not the least of which is the actual development of the town center. And the two of you are deeply immersed and involved in getting everything rolling to make that a reality, correct?
Yes, we are.
Frawn, you were telling me that you went to the county just yesterday to actually get plans submitted?
We did. Dave and I met with county planning staff yesterday afternoon. We dropped off 2 boxes of materials to start the application process, including our application and the necessary copies of documents, maps, studies, everything that's required by the county to get the application process started. Over the next couple of weeks, the county staff will go through that box of materials and then formally accept our application, at which point those materials become public information.
Wow. So that's the actual process of getting plan approval to move forward toward groundbreaking.
Well, it's the start of the process anyway. The first step.
And it can be a long process, so we submitted an application for what they call a tentative map and some master plan and specific plan amendments. And so that's the first step to basically change some of the zoning in the town center so it matches our map. And that's the first step, and then later come the actual building plans and street and roadway plans for the town center. So once we get through this step of tentative map, master plan, specific plan, we get what they call it entitled, then we can move on to the actual construction drawings for the streets and for the first commercial buildings in the town center.
So you have to wait until you get a certain level of county approval before you can really develop those specific plans?
Yeah, we're going to monitor. You can start a little bit early, but we just want to make sure that that the application is accepted and it looks like we have some good community support before we get too far into doing our construction plans. But if everything goes smoothly, yeah, we might consider moving ahead with some construction drawings just to get a head start, so that when we do get our entitlements, we've already gotten a head start on our construction plans, and it just brings breaking ground on our first commercial buildings that much closer.
And obviously you're going to have to roll out the development and the actual building. You've got the whole plan of the whole town center, and then that will start. I know everybody wants to know about a grocery store, and talks are happening and not happening, and options are still open, basically.
Options are still open.
But regardless of that, there's going to be a whole town. There's going to be the whole town center, the downtown part that will come out of that. Will that start? Is the grocery store necessarily the anchor that has to happen first, or how does that work?
Yes, I mean, essentially, yes, it is. I think it's first and foremost what the community really needs is a grocery, and also it's challenging to find other retailers willing to locate into a new center in a new community that's not anchored by a user like a grocery store. So the grocery store is kind of task one, and where we have been for the last year and continue to be actively working toward signing up a grocery user.
And with the grocery chain involved having their own issues, that's not as decided as we might hope.
It's not as decided as we might have hoped. We've worked very closely with Safeway over the last year to develop this plan. They've been instrumental in locating the grocery store on the site, developing traffic patterns, etc. So we know that they like this plan, they've signed on to this plan. But as everyone knows, Safeway recently merged with Albertsons, and so their expansion plans are somewhat on hold while they figure out their new world. But that won't stop us from talking to other users.
And Dave, you said at the recent community meeting that we're looking at groundbreaking like summer of 2016, right?
So it's hard to say. I think if everything lined up and we got no resistance as we're going ahead with our entitlements, and we were able to start with our construction drawings at the same time because we felt comfortable that there was a little risk that our plan was going to get shot down by the Planning Commission and the Board of Supervisors. We could work on those construction documents, so it could put us in a position where at the absolute soonest we could break ground in like a year, which is about summer of 2016. But it's a variable process. You don't know what hiccups we're gonna run into as we get our entitlements through the county, and then also we gotta strike some deals with some users like the grocery store, and but I mean, we've recognized for a long time that the community needs a grocery store. Every time you come out here, that's the one thing.
It's always the big question.
The big question: when is the grocery store coming? And for a long time, we always just said, well, when there's 5,000 rooftops. I think finally today, we're at about 4,200 rooftops, so we're coming up there. So we're getting to the point where if you start working on the plans and the construction, by the time something opens, it would be that 5,000 rooftops. So we're close enough, and I think we're closer than we've ever been to having some commercial there in the downtown. So we're excited about getting the application in, and yeah, we're hopeful that it'll be a smooth process and we can get something going out there within 1 to 2 years.
And once groundbreaking starts, assuming all plans move forward,
yeah,
you're probably looking at a fairly good length of time before you actually have the store open. That kind of, I don't know if you can even postulate that.
Unfortunately, I'm not a commercial construction guy, but it takes, a residential house takes about 3 to 6 months to build. So maybe building a grocery store is going to take 12 months at the outside. I don't know if you have any.
Yeah, I don't think I have anything to add to that.
Yeah.
That's about the time.
Yeah, I mean, once we get a user up there, we'll be trying to move things along fast, because that's what the town needs. It needs a grocery store and a place for everyone to go, and it'll be one more great amenity for the town.
What amenity, for sure.
You can count the high school. That's a good one.
Well, that is a good one.
Yeah.
I guess that counts as it. I'm thinking more in terms of commercial development.
Yeah, first commercial amenity.
Yeah, no, the high school is tremendous, and everybody's excited about that.
Yeah.
It's a good thing to have happen.
Yeah, it's great.
So let's talk a little bit about how these plans have evolved, because
Sure.
I know there was the original master plan document that had everything laid out a certain way, and then Frawn, your organization, hosted a series of workshops that allowed the town people to come give their input. And then you guys did even more beyond that to help solidify how this looks, right?
Yes, we've been working on it, as we said, for about 1.5 years now. The first community workshop, for those of you that were there and remember it, started with a visioning process, where we talked about and we asked for input on the community's vision for Mountain House. We asked the community to tell us how it smelled, what sounds they heard, what they did. And I'm amazed at how many people remember that workshop and that process. We had lunch with Bernice Tingle today, one of your CSD board members, and she remembers that process and talked about how valuable that was to her. So that started the process for us, because it told us what the community was looking for in their town center. And from there, we took that input, we went away and we worked on a conceptual plan. Several, in fact, if you recall, came back with the next workshop with several conceptual plans. And that was more of a working session where we asked the community to give us feedback on these different plans. I think we had 4 that we presented.
Right. And that one was a little more difficult, as I recall. I was at those meetings too. And the first one, yeah, it was very memorable. And the different group workshop tables, people got to give their input amongst one another and then report back to everybody. And the similarities that people seem to have, I thought was striking, that they wanted something that was cohesive and unified and comfortable, that, you know, to make our town center. I thought it was great. But the next meeting was a little more difficult because you had conceptual drawings and it was hard to tell what you were looking at, for me anyway. And so that had to be a little more of a challenge to come back and solidify it from there, right?
Sure it was, because for those of us in this business, we can look at a drawing and visualize what it means. But it is a challenge to look at something two-dimensionally and understand how it will function, how it will work, how it will live. But the community did a great job of rising to that challenge and working with us to refine the elements that didn't work, or to purge the elements that didn't work, and give us input into the elements of those plans that did work, so that we could then take that refinement to the next level.
We are at the Welcome Center, so people can come down to the Welcome Center anytime. It's open 7 days a week?
7 days a week, 10 to 5.
Call.
Or call. It's on the corner of Prosperity at Mustang, so it's the building you see before you get to the fire station and the high school, if you're coming from Mountain House Parkway. So one of the key things that really changed from the original master plan, that was probably the most controversial thing, was the deletion of Deanza Boulevard connecting from where the school administration building is up to Central Parkway.
Yeah. So if I can get up and
that'd be great,
show you on the map there. So this is actually the new plan. So Deanza Boulevard is not shown. But yeah, so Deanza Boulevard actually exists all the way up here, right up to the district office there, and it just kind of dead ends. But in the existing Mountain Master Plan, it sweeps up through the town center and then connects to this segment of Deanza up by the Queston neighborhood.
By the bridge to nowhere.
And the bridge to nowhere, yeah. So, and you know, people who live in the community know Deanza it's a 4-lane street, and it's designed for 45 mile an hour. I think the speed limit is posted 35, but so it's a really wide street, and
it's a throughway.
And it's a throughway. People are going fast. So, you know, when we first sat down to work on this plan, we were reflecting on what we heard from the first workshop, and which was everybody wanted pedestrian friendly. They wanted to get away from cars if they could. And we were looking at the plan, and we were like, you know what, we've got a shopping center up here at the corner of Byron and Mountain House Parkway. And then we've got this Main Street corridor experience over here in the middle, but they're split in half by Deanza Boulevard. So it was almost like you had two town centers. And we could imagine, you know, families who are up here at the shopping center, you know, it'd be nice to go on Main Street, but, you know, I got to schlep my kids across this big street, so let's just get in the car and we'll drive over to Main Street. So, and we said, okay, well, what happens if we just delete Deanza Boulevard? And so that was part of two of the plans that we brought back to the second meeting. I think it was in December of 13. Had concepts that Deanza Boulevard was gone. And the people at the meeting, they responded to that well. I mean, I think some people would like to eliminate all cars, but that's probably going too far. You got to be able to get to the shops. You got to have visibility to the shops. But by deleting Deanza Boulevard and making these streets narrower, having nice wide sidewalks, it's going to create a really nice pedestrian experience. You know, especially here on this what we call Plaza Street. You're going to come in here from Mountain House Parkway. There's going to be some nice outdoor dining here on these little plazas. And then also Main Street's got the same kind of pedestrian experience, really wide sidewalks. It's going to have, you know, there'll be trees on the street, but the bottoms will be tree grades, so it's going to be this really wide sidewalk. So again, you can have outdoor dining. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that's envisioned for parts of Main Street here, and then for this little, we call this Central Plaza there. So that original thing, so Deanza Boulevard is gone. We're still making a connection for pedestrians. So if you're coming from Altamont or Cuesta and you want to get to the town center, you can walk or ride your bike through this park, across the bridge, and then into the town center this way. You get to Central Plaza. And then we've also oriented this, we call this as a collector street. So it's not as big as these big arterials like Central Parkway, but this allows people to still move through the town center if they have to. So they can come up Deanza Boulevard, and then they can scoot through here back to Central if they want to get to Cuesta, and the other way around. If they want to come from Cuesta, they can take that to get into the town center.
That's a newly added feature, right?
Yeah, it is. I mean, originally we didn't. That street went more down like this, but we had feedback from the community that they were concerned about people being able to get back and forth from Deanza and from Cuesta and Altamont, and that their access was somehow lessened by that. And so this used to kind of sweep just straight down. So we brought it in this way to make a connection back to Deanza, to try to kind of answer that issue people had. And so there were a few changes that we made since we made the presentation to the community back in May. That was one of them. There was some concern from the county and the CSD that the library and the admin building were needed to kind of anchor Main Street. They previously had been up here, so we moved that back there. We had our town green, which is here now. When we presented in May, it was right there. And we got some feedback that was just kind of floating and it didn't really make sense to people who were there. So we rethought that, and we found out, I think this is a really good place for it, because it's this big kind of civic plaza. Now you get the community center, and we've added a senior center.
What was that? Community center?
That's the community center.
A community center? Yeah. Wow, what a concept. Huh?
Yeah, so the community center.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And that's part of the CSD's Parks and Leisure plan, to have the community center, recreation center. It's kind of one and the same thing, and that goes along with some pools here. Everyone's really excited about the pools.
Swimming pools?
Yep.
In Mountain House? Wow.
So anyway, and that's another change. So we got the town green there, and those were some of the highlights of the things that we've changed based on the feedback we got at that May meeting. And this is the plan that we submitted to the county, and they'll be reviewing, and we have to take it through an environmental review process to make sure that we're not causing traffic problems or noise problems or any of that. It's just the typical kind of process you have to go through when you're doing a plan of this size.
So just basic overview, the red buildings are, that's like the plaza, commercial, shopping,
right,
retail kind of thing? So
this is like the central commercial area. So yeah, so shopping, so retail shops, actually these are more likely restaurants that face out onto Central Plaza. Retail, and probably more restaurants on the south side over here, also facing Central Plaza. This is the grocery store, and this is a big one here shown. It's probably 55,000 square feet. So that's like one of the really big, one of the newer grocers.
Which that depends though on which grocer actually builds, right?
Right. There are some out there that do smaller ones, like 30,000 square feet. But that's shown as a.
Is there a plan then? I know maybe can't tell because we don't know if it's Safeway or somebody else, but Safeway, I would imagine, would put a gas station in too if they were going to do that.
Right. So we actually worked with Safeway to develop this plan. I mean, Frawn's been working with them for months now. And we've given them this plan, gotten their feedback, changed the plan, and revised it again. And I think everybody's seen, Safeway does a lot of gas stations now. So this is actually that was a gas station, but it is a gas station at that corner. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah.
Whether it's Safeway fuel or someone else.
Or somebody else, yeah.
So do you think that I don't think maybe this is an out of bounds question, but if it's not Safeway, would that still likely be available for a gas station developer to put something there?
Yes.
So I know people, besides wanting a grocery store, a lot of people would like to have a local gas station.
Right.
That seems like the perfect place for
it. You know, when people in Mountain House, whenever I hear what they're looking for, it's grocery store, gas station, and then the pool. So in that order. So
somewhere in there's the wine bar.
Somewhere in the wine bar?
Wine bar's Main Street, I think. Or maybe on the plaza.
Who knows?
So, and then down on Main Street, you're talking that that'll be more shops and whatever
Right.
organically develops.
Organically developed, yeah. So in this shopping center is going to be our phase one, and you can't do the whole thing all at once. There's just Mountain House, 4,000 houses. There's a lot of people here, but it's not enough to drive all of this right out of the gate. So we're going to start with as much of this shopping center as we can, and then as this fills out over time, as Mountain House grows and moves towards build out, that'll get all taken up, and then we'll have to move down to Main Street and start activating some of those down there. And so this is zone mixed use, so it's a zoning designation that's set up to be flexible. So you can have retail on the bottom floor with office above, or retail and residential above, or maybe just retail in one story, and then the residential goes in the back, as shown here. So this is set up just for a variety of reasons or uses, just to provide that flexibility, because you don't really know how the direction's going to go. Well, I guess we'll have a little bit of an idea when we get our first users in here, who's going to come in. I'm sure we'll have a pizza place and the coffee shop and the nail salons and hopefully a lot more than that. But it just depends on how it goes.
Things that people have to go somewhere else to
Right.
find now that they'll be able to stay in town for.
Right.
And then the yellow area is some residential. Right?
So residential, right. And so this is a change from the master plan, master plan. So right now in the master plan, this area up here, I believe it's about 15 acres, is 300 units of attached senior housing. So you've got high density senior housing here, and then what they call medium density senior housing. So this would look kind of like Cambridge Place down there.
That's in the original plan.
Yeah, that's in the original plan. This was age restricted. So we felt that it would be nice to have the Central Park kind of bridge across Mountain House Creek, so it's one big, nice area. And then we also thought it'd be nice to bring the seniors down into the town center. Number one, to kind of activate the town center and get more people in there, so that there's more people in the shops and more activity on the streets. Yep, and then the second thing is they can walk. They're closer to the services. Otherwise, they're not that far from over here, but they might be tempted to get in their car to drive to the grocery store. They still might drive.
Now, there's an amphitheater built into this plan?
There is, yeah. So there's always been an amphitheater in the plan that's shown in the current master plan, and so it's shown right there, and that's part of our current plan too. There's a number of things that were in the master plan, like Main Street, the park. Those are all things that were in the plan, and we're providing all of that. And the way I like to look at this, we're providing all the things that were in the master plan, and we're adding some extra things, like this nice Plaza Street, the Central Plaza, the Town Green Park, and then some other little things we've heard over the years that the community really wants. We've got a dog park right here, and then the skate park. And this is proposed for a teen center right there. So hopefully the community will be happy with what they see.
Will you be working then with the dog club, the Mountain House Dog Club, to develop that park, or you guys just do it?
Well, yeah, we have yet to figure that out, but we've talked to Fiona Main quite a bit, who represents the dog club, and it's a timing thing. They've got their $25,000 that they want, and I know that they've been sitting on it for a while. They'd like to do something soon with it.
I think they have to sometime next year.
Yeah. So we'll be talking to her and to see if there's something to be done now, or if we wait until the rest of the park builds out. Which we don't have a schedule for this yet, but it's going to be an important part of the town center going forward.
The main thing is you're going to need to develop the plaza area first to kind of anchor the whole thing.
Right.
And then the rest will come about as it does, right?
That's right. Yeah, the grocery store, if we can get them, that would be great, because these smaller shops love to cluster around the grocery store. Right. So you get the grocery store in, and that's going to draw a bunch more people. If we can't get the grocery store, it gets harder to get the smaller shops to come in. But yeah, that's the key. That's where things will start, and then they'll just grow from there.
And that's a different kind of a layout for a grocery store. It's not like I'd call it a 20th century model where you have like a all the little shops around the grocery store in one big parking lot right there.
Right.
That's the idea with the plaza behind.
Yeah, you know, that was one improvement that we think we've made to the master plan. The original master plan had this central commercial area in the same place, but it was a ring of shops around a large parking lot. So it's just a traditional shopping center, and so that works. But we wanted to deliver pedestrian-friendly experience, you know, right out of the gate. So some of the more recent designs for retail shopping centers, grocery stores, is you try to introduce a kind of a Main Street concept, like Plaza Street, and orient it close to the grocery store. So you get that nice pedestrian experience on a little street like that, but it's still close to the grocery store. And there's some models of that we've seen around the country. We worked with some consultants and architects to come up with that idea, and we're real happy with it. We think it's going to be good.
I was going to ask what the blue things were because I couldn't see well enough.
Yeah, the blues are
maybe there's water or that's office.
Yeah, so the blues are office, and then the purple church sites. So this is a big parking lot that could be used for the churches or shared with the retail. I think I don't know if I mentioned the library, and then this is labeled the admin building. That's basically the community services district, town hall. So eventually they'll move from their location over on Arnado to that location. And
it was agreed last year, I think, that would all be one building.
Yeah.
I think they were talking at that time a first story and a second story for the library on one level, and that looks a little bit different than that, though.
Yeah, this mirrors what's shown in the master plan. So we really didn't change a lot down here on Main Street from the master plan. Most of our changes that we're proposing are up here. So that's been the plan since 2004, is something like that.
And that's a big parking area?
Yeah, a big parking area behind it, and which is nice because you can, you know, it's shared with the amphitheater.
How big is that amphitheater? As far as how many people could you fit or anything?
We don't know. We'll have to get back to you on that one.
So we
well,
can...
let me put it this way. So here's your amphitheater here for Central Park, right? That's where you guys do your
the bowl where we do
bowl.
the concerts.
I mean, how many people do you think you fit in there?
About 1,000 maybe.
1,000. So this looks at least 50% bigger than that.
Probably.
And I think we're actually, there's a row of trees here where, you know, we'd probably be able to push that back a little bit and grow a little bit. So maybe 15.
And you guys would be open to more community input on those kinds of design plans?
When we get to that point, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not part of this process in processing the map. The buildings and the elements that you see are really placeholders. Especially with respect to the park, the amphitheater, the community facilities, that's all subject to a programming and planning process that we will engage with the CSD on, and at that point, yes, absolutely.
So this is really just to get the plans rolling with the county so you can move forward?
These are kind of placeholder concepts. And I don't know if I went through this park up here. So, you know, this park was over here. So we're providing a bunch of community park, the same amount of acreage as was shown in the original plan. And so we got a big baseball complex up here, six different baseball fields.
Oh, I see.
And they're actually, looks like they're all about the same size. And then there's
two on the outside, a bigger outfield.
Yeah. And then the CSD program for this park requires field hockey, so there's a nice field hockey in there that which I guess could double as soccer as well. You got some volleyball courts and a basketball. Over here you got these sport courts, multi-purpose sport courts. So yeah, it should be in, you know, help great views over the park. It should be real nice when it's complete. And then lots of parking there. So this could be baseball tournament central for a lot of the year.
I grew up in the Walnut Creek area that most people around here know, and a lot of the amenities and the way you're talking about setting this up reminds me a lot of that. Like Heather Farm Park has ball fields that they've set up the whole kind of similar to that. A little different, but along the same lines, and it makes for a hometown kind of a feel. I'm pretty excited about the whole thing.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, we are too.
We are too.
Got a lot of work to do, but
yeah,
it's gonna be good.
So We hope to have this out in time, so people should be looking in their mailboxes. You have some kind of a packet coming out. Is that correct?
Yes, we do. So people should be getting in their mailboxes within, if you don't have it already, within the next day or two, a mailer, a large format envelope with a packet and a beautiful full-color piece that includes this plan, as well as some call-outs with some specific information about the elements of this plan, some answers to the elements that we've changed, the description of the elements that have changed, and just kind of our vision for moving this forward. Also, it will include contact information if you have questions, as well as a response card to provide your comments, and we invite comments.
Yeah,
we want to know what the community thinks about this.
We're trying to get the community excited about it, because we need to go through a process with the county. We need to get to the Planning Commission, and then if we can get Planning Commission approval, then we go to the Board of Supervisors. So we want to make sure that the community is bought into this and they're supporting this, so we can get through that process.
And getting what we want.
And so the sooner we can get through that process, the sooner we can start building out there.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure as it rolls out, people are going to have more questions, more comments, more ideas. We'll keep attuned to the Facebook page because there's always stuff going on there. We'd love to have you back and give us updates as frequently as you can.
And then we're posting information on our website too, yes. Right? So it's mountainhouseliving.com.
There's a separate town center page, which will have all this information and some more information as it becomes available. And we ask people to go and check the website out. But we do look forward to coming back and sharing.
Yeah, there's more things we could talk about, but yeah. I really appreciate you both being here today. I'm glad we can make this work, and we're excited about the town center. And thank you for all you're doing.
Thank you, Brian.
Thanks for
the invitation.
Yeah. That's going to do it for today. Thanks for watching, and look for your mail packet if you haven't already seen it. You can go to mountainhouseliving.com for more information. And mhmatters.net. We'll have more there, or our OTV as well. Thank you.